Good morning, class. How are you all? I hope well. Today I'm going to be educating my fellow peers on something that I love and that's something that I believe in, CrossFit. So I'm going to first start with a little bit of what it is and who founded it, and then I'm going to go into why there are some cons and what critics believe CrossFit is not a good way of exercising. Okay, so throughout the course of history, there have always been things introduced into the world, whether it was Columbus believing that the earth was round or the earlier settlers believing the earth was flat. There will always be those who believe that your idea is a good one or something that does not suit them. Looking at the fitness community, you will see that it is not any different. I believe a lot of times people are scared of something that they do not know and fear that they won't succeed at it. Um, I've been doing CrossFit for about a year and a half now. When I started, I was doing multiple different exercise classes and getting involved in different communities such as LA Fitness. I started boot camps. I've done jazzercise. I've done a whole lot of things. However, CrossFit was the first thing that stuck with me. And I believe it was because it was a community versus something I was paying for and I did not see the person or the trainers after an hour. Or something like jazzercise, which it was a big group of people and I felt overwhelmed. Okay, so let me first start with some facts and knowledge on exactly what CrossFit is and who founded it. CrossFit is a new idea, and like all things, either you love it or you hate it. However, unlike the rest of the fitness world, CrossFit brings something new to the table, which is why many believe it to be a better way of working out and a better way of life. Before explaining this style of training, first let me explain the beginnings of it. Greg Glassman, who was a young gymnastics professional, lived in San Fernando Valley with a family of scientists. When he was a teenager, he was completely athletic, and his family pushed him to do gymnastics. Well, throughout his gymnastics career, he felt like he was not getting enough discipline from it. So he decided that he was going to create something that would allow him to be limber and get full movement like gymnastics would, along with something that would work him out and build up his endurance. Um, this new way of training was what he developed eventually into CrossFit. At first, he began with standard movements such as arm curls and bench presses. But because of his background of gymnastics, what he would normally think was hard wasn't and was completely easy. So he decided to point on was what he needed to come up with was something that would stimulate the stress and exhaustion of what he got throughout a gymnastics routine. By the time he was 21, he decided to create this within himself and he built his first box, which is what CrossFit World calls a gym. His first box in his garage, and he developed his first workout, which was 21 pull-ups, 15 thrusters, which would be with the barbell and you would push over your head, and 15 pull-ups, then 9 thrusters, 9 pull-ups, and then it went down to 5 thrusters and 5 pull-ups. So everything within CrossFit is not a lot of per se, so it would be like 25, 19, 3, how this one was, or it would be something like 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. And you would do the movement as best as possible and as quickly as possible, typically. After his solo run with that workout, he was able to convince other teammates who lived around his street to come over and do the workout with him. They felt exhaustion and weakness, just like they did in a gymnastics tournament. When one thing ends, another begins, and that is exactly what happened here with Glassman. He then decided that all other ways of working out were not for him. Now that you have a little bit of background on Glassman and who developed CrossFit, let me explain what CrossFit is. When Glassman was fired from his last corporate gym because he started to believe in this CrossFit way, he told Jim Barker, "We're going to change the way of this world thinks about fitness." That is no stretch because he did just that. Again, what is CrossFit? Well, according to the CrossFit website and under the title of What is CrossFit, it says this is in the first paragraph, many police academies and tactical operations our program delivers a fitness that is by design broad, general, and inclusive. Our specialty is not specializing. Our specialty is to push people to their extent of feeling exhausted, along with feeling like they're a part of something. And it says in the quote, as it says in the quote, CrossFit really was used as a training system for police and military in the beginning. But because its ability to offer a way of training that covers a broad variety of different areas in the body and many styles, in fact, it is used to this day in many military and police academies throughout the country. Now, let me introduce you to a man named Tony. Tony first walked into CrossFit Box in 2007 after going through a cervical lumpectomy only 9 months previous. A cervical lumpectomy, excuse me, lumpectomy is used in the treatment of multiple sclerosis and is very taxing on the body. To give a better explanation, MS is, I will use a definition I found on National MS Society website. Multiple sclerosis is a chronic, often disabling disease that attacks the entire body. When Glassman was 18, he had his first job as a trainer working as a coach for the gymnastics program in Pasadena. As he got older, he began to work in gyms as personal trainers, but because his style of training was viewed as unorthodox, he was never able to hold a job at a single gym for a long period of time. Let me explain what I mean as unorthodox. Typically, his clients would go through a series of workouts that were both high intensity and odd to say the least. At least two of those were unfamiliar with his style. Glassman would push his clients to their limits and just keep them there until the workout was over. They used dumbbells in ways that you did not normally see by swinging them through the air, weighted balls, as we know now as medicine balls, bouncing them into the air and catching them just to repeat the movement. But what the biggest problem was most gyms saw was his use of Olympic style lifts. People thought that this would hurt others that were not trained to know how to use them. But the good thing about CrossFit is that they do teach you in every class. So if you don't know a movement, they're going to show you right there. And if you feel like you're struggling with the movement, the coach is going to know first. So as we went through, Tony's symptoms of MS were so bad that they were beginning to blind him, and he was unable to use his left side. His left side would just go limp. As he started using CrossFit, he was able to completely use his body during the WODs, which is workout of the day. He was able to use that whole side of his body, and as he continued to use CrossFit, he was seeing that after his workouts, he was able to use his body more precisely for, it would be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, then an hour. As time progressed, he grew stronger and found that MS symptoms became easier to deal with. When he first started CrossFit, he was barely able to pick up a 40-pound 45-pound bar. Um, he then, at the end of his duration of CrossFit, not that he quit, just from the end of this um, interview, he was able to pick up 200-pound bars. Um, he struggled to do even one push up from his knees in the beginning, especially with the loss of strength he suffered from. But now he was able to do a wide variety of different push ups and other movements. So that's just one incident that I was able to write down and share with you. Um, Along with proper training and coaches, many boxes, which is gyms, such as CrossFit Pandemic, where I go, have mandatory beginning classes. The class you participate in begins with movements in each one, and which will give you the um, know-hows to do the entire workout. They're there with you the entire time, and if you have any questions throughout the hour and a half that you're there, they're there to go. They're there to go through everything with you and specialize in anything that you need. Okay, so to pull away from the CrossFit positives, let's take a look at the, some health benefits and physical activity. According to the Canadian Medical Journal, in one of its most recent studies, it says both men and women who repeated increased levels of physical activity and fitness were found to have reductions in relative risk of death. That was given to me by Warbutton, Nicole, and Burdin Parr, page 5. I can testify of the truth of these statements because a little over 6 months ago, there was a woman named Jackie that started at Pandemic where I go. She was what some would call obese. Her doctor said that she was roughly 200 pounds overweight. I can remember when she signed up for the class and I thought, good for her. I hope she doesn't struggle too hard and quit. As I know that when I started myself, I felt that way. I felt like this was not for me. It was too hard. I couldn't do it. But I stuck through it and here I am today. And back to Jackie. As I watched her that day, a coach stayed by her side the entire class, encouraging her along with educating her on correct form. A week went by and she stuck through it. The entire gym would encourage her, and she was within a week part of a family. I know how I struggled in the beginning due to my lack of endurance, so I could only fathom how hard it would be with 200 pounds extra on me. A month went by and Jackie was down 30 pounds, and she was able to come 4 times a week now versus 1 or 2. She was getting better and better each week. Jackie came on Saturday. Jackie came one Saturday, which Saturdays is a day that most boxes do a hero WOD, which is where they dedicate a hero WOD, which is a really hard workout, to fallen soldiers. So the one that I'm particularly speaking about was called Jerry. And in the Jerry workout, it was for the entire gym to run 1 mile outdoors, come inside the gym, and use a rower, which would mimic the movement of you rowing in a canoe. Then you would come in and do that for 2,000 meters and then go back outside and run for another 1 mile. So as I was finishing up the last mile and struggling myself, I looked around me and could see that everybody was dripping sweat and looked as if they were going to pass out. As I came through finishing my last mile, I noticed that Jackie was barely getting off the rower. I crawled onto the floor to catch my breath and lay there entirely exhausted and thinking, I don't even know how I finished that. I noticed that Jackie was doing her first lap and she was about to go outside and she just looked like she was like done. She just looked like I can't do anymore. As I got up, I stood up and walked to her and I said, I'll help you finish this. And she said, okay, thank you. And I ran the last mile with her outdoors. I gave her breaks as much as possible and told her to breathe shallow and take small breaths. Jackie was able to finish that, and as she came through the door, her time was 49:96, which is fantastic. It's fantastic that she even finished. She thanked me over and over that day and days to come. She said that this was the reason that she was staying with CrossFit was because of people like me that were in her gym. At that point, I knew Jackie well enough to ask her a little bit about her background and why she came here. She had told me that she was going to get gastric bypass, but the doctor told her that she had to lose at least 50 pounds on her own and get in better shape physically. I guess would be with inside before he felt comfortable giving her the surgery at all. So that's when she decided to join CrossFit. She told me that she had struggled with eating problems her entire life, even as she was a child. That when she hit junior high, she was made fun of and outcasted for her weight, which then made her eat more. She explained to me that eating had become something that made her feel good. Oddly enough, that was what was the problem altogether. This was something Jackie dealt with for many years. She said she was now 27 and was not able to find any diet or any program that helped her, and that's why she went to inquire about gastric bypass. She said that when she stopped in here, that she felt like she was going to throw up each day that she came, but it was the only thing that made her feel like she had a reason to live. As she has now continued on, it's been 3 months, and Jackie says she's going to put gastric bypass back into the back burner for now and continue going with CrossFit as a way of life to see how far she can come without any help. I think that's a perfect story of why CrossFit is a positive way of life. People say that CrossFit can be a cult or some sort of um, elite, like, what I'm trying to say here. People think that CrossFitters believe that they are some sort of elite group of people, which in my way of thinking, I do kind of see how that is, because when I first started, I was eating poorly, I didn't sleep well, I was always tired, and since CrossFit, I go to bed earlier, I sleep more deeply, I eat better, and it's turned me into a better version of myself. Now let me go over some of what critics would call negative. People say that CrossFit is dangerous or that it creates injury. I will agree that CrossFit can be dangerous if you are not doing a movement correctly. I have been to other boxes where the coaches do not watch each person closely, and at the same time they are pushing for all to finish as quick as possible. There are a lot of WODs that require technical movements, and then to do them in a timely manner, trying to beat the last time you did that workout, which is kind of and which is kind of what you want to be able to do. You want to set goals within yourself, but at the same time, you want to be able to do each movement correctly before you decide to push time on yourself. Which in a lot of like the gym that I tried, that's what they wanted you to do. It was like run faster, lift lift heavier, and that's not what I think is healthy. Um, so I guess to make sure that there is an injury and that you are doing things correctly, it would all depend on the box or the gym that you attended, the coaches teaching the class and at what they believe in, and being able to listen to your own body. Starting off with the box you attend, working out in a gym that strives for greatness and believes that greatness means first and foremost, getting to the gym, learning the movements, and setting small goals within yourself, not what others are doing around you, is key. Uh, Next, making sure the coaches are involved with each person that attend makes for success as well. It allows it allows you and them to know how you move and what you're capable of and what your limits are, which will allow you to grow furthermore. Along with knowing each person or his or her class, the coach's job is to set up a stretching warm up, a strengthening, which is like you do 15 minutes of stretching, then 15 minutes of strength, which would be whether it was trying pull ups with a band, with a lighter band, without a band, doing strict pull ups, whatever that may be. They'll do 15 minutes of that so that the movements that you are doing are going to get easier with the next class. Um, and then the actual WOD, which is the workout. And then finally, the last part of it is a stretching cool down, which will allow your body to relax and breathe from what you have just done for the last hour. Another extremely important part in not getting injured is learning to listen to your body. Your body knows better than anything when is too much and when you need a break. So it's our job to listen and slow down during the workout or take a rest completely and have a little bit of break to let your body heal. Um, Critics will always be just that, a critic, and they will search high and low for something to pick at, regardless if it is what they are saying is true and can hold ground or not. Of course, there is a risk when you participate in something as physical and demanding as CrossFit, but there is risk in getting into your car and heading to work. I personally would rather have risks that make me feel better and do better. Why not change your life for the better and get out of your comfort zone, meet new people while improving oneself? So that's what I have to say about CrossFit, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are a little bit more knowledged on the entire idea of it. And thank you, and have a great day.